So this week we're going to talk about design plans, which is really one of the funnest parts of the course. So just to recap, as you probably remember from 602, a design plan is really the blueprint for your learning event. And when you work through a sequential process and a systematic approach to developing learning, you are able to respond to the findings of your training needs assessment when you move into design. And what you want to do here is really work out and identify all of those mission critical specifications for your development team, so that when the event goes live, when it gets developed and when it goes live, you have all of that necessary detail captured and identified. And the design plan really is that connective tissue between analysis and development, where you're responding to and reacting to all of that information that you unearthed during your many stages of analysis, and you're making sense of it for your development team so that they know exactly what needs to happen in order for that learning event to be successful and to have the most positive impact on your audience. As you probably remember from 602, and if you don't, I strongly recommend you go back and check out your textbook. A typical design plan has these standard elements, these 7 elements. A rationale, which is a justification for the learning event, target population, course description, your objectives, you would line up an evaluation strategy, you'd identify prerequisites for both your participants and your facilitators, and you might also put together a set of deliverables that you hope the development team will return at the end of development for the actual delivery of the learning. One of the nice things about working through the sequence in this course, and if you have the chance to duplicate or replicate this experience in real time in the real world, is that if you work through analysis in advance of design, you have a lot of this information ready for you. So when you go to write your rationale, I recommend that you reflect back on your performance problem statement and your performance gap analysis. When you go to write your target population, you want to look at your front-end analysis, which probably identified the individual behavior, employee behavior, the organizational outcome, and through the process of your front-end analysis, you probably narrowed that down to a set group of people. Both your description and your objectives can be extracted directly from a training needs assessment. If you are looking at your evaluation strategy, I recommend you look at your performance gap analysis with a focus on organizational outcomes. Your prerequisites also should be identifiable or readily available within the data you collected in your needs assessment. And the deliverables, depending on the type of event you're developing, designing and developing, will vary. The hardest part of writing a design plan is really nailing down the objectives. And for purposes of this course and this particular assignment, I'm going to require you to have at least 2 objectives, terminal objectives that is. That's really the only requirement I'm going to levy on the design plan, because I want to make sure that you can really write very solid formulaic objectives. It's not to say that you will always have the opportunity to write them in the real world, or that there'll be a tolerance or a client tolerance for that level of detail, but it's really good for you to verify that you can approach objectives through this formula and write them in that ABCD format and make sure that they meet that SMART criterion, that you have specific objectives that are relating back to one individual behavior, that they're measurable in the sense that they're observable, that they're achievable, that you've accommodated all of the conditions necessary to allow the learner or encourage the learner to achieve them, that they are realistic, which is somewhat of a subjective judgment call, but that there's a realistic chance that the student will be able to achieve them, and that they're time-based, meaning that you will be able to observe the objectives being performed during the course of the learning event. And then for the purposes of this course, I'm going to ask that you have as many enabling objectives as necessary. There's no numeric limit, but however many are required to satisfy those terminal objectives. So be sure to go back and look through all of the good analysis work you've done to this point. Look back on the prerequisite requirements for this course if you need to brush up on ABCD format, on writing design plans. You can find all of that from your prior coursework in 602, and then put it all together for a design plan here in 603. Good luck.